SEO conspiracies, welcome. Is content king? Bonjour, Monsieur Dixon.
Bonjour Laurent, comment allez-vous?
I'm good, and yourself?
Oui, très bien, merci.
So Dixon Jones
oui,
from
so,
E-Links and Majestic.
I don't know. Is it? I don't know. Is content king? What are you going to go with?
Well, from the day I started, I hear this advice, especially from the guys at Google, say, okay, just do make a website for the users and the rest will follow. Even if there's some truth in it, but it's not for everyone. You got to be so good at making content, like the best, like the top 1%, right? The top 1%, yeah, they make content and everybody links to them because they are so good. But what about the rest of us, right? What do you think?
Well, I think that the interesting thing about the content is king argument, well, there's a whole load of things. A whole load of things that really annoy me about the argument, really. The first is, if you take something relatively bland, how to tie a bow tie is the one I always go for. You know, writing the perfect answer to that question isn't that difficult. You know, how to tie a bow tie. You can put a video in there. You can put pictures. You can, you know, have a handsome man doing his bow tie up and looking good, whatever it may be. But ultimately, they're answering the same question. So which one is better? Which is better content becomes nebulous. And what's happened in recent years is Google has said, sod it. We only need to know how to tie a bow tie, and then we put it into our own database, and we don't even show you a website. We'll just put the answers on a how-to screen. So maybe how-to schema is a better way to answer the question how to tie a bow tie. But the other bit about content is king, you know, write it and they will come kind of argument is that it really isn't true anymore. You're not getting the best results on Google. Google's algorithms, Google's search results, I think most people that are pundits will agree that actually the results were a bit better a couple of years ago, you know, but they've started to get into this machine learning, the semantic stuff. That's still all learning, that's still coming out, and maybe they'll end up with something better. Certainly they'll end up with something more robust and scalable. But the results a few years ago were actually better results, I thought. But when you've got some stuff coming to the top and you think that it can be just the best content and it will get to the top, the challenge with that is that if you write it and then let's say you write something about, you know, astrophysics, and then Brian Cox, the famous physicist, or Brian, the guy from Queen, who's also a famous physicist, comes along in the content and then completely debunks your argument in the comments, and debunks your argument and shows you how it should have been, and shows that your article was actually fake news and stuff, and then puts their article down there. The interesting thing about all of that is that you've written what you think is great content, but an expert has debunked it, and yet the expert stuff is in a no-follow tag and potentially worthless to Google in terms of the algorithm. So I think it's unfair to mislead writers and content writers and say and web owners and say, build it and they will come, because they just won't. You need to have something more than just the content. Otherwise, the only things that would get there should be Google Scholar articles, things that have been peer reviewed properly, and then people can't read them anyway because they're too complicated.
True. Let me take an example. Oh, first, about the bow tie.
Okay.
Let me give you one tip from Dixon Jones. 2013, Barcelona, European Search Awards. I go to the airport, pick up Dixon. He had a suitcase about yay big. Drop him off at the hotel, and we meet up for drinks maybe half an hour later. And the guy looks like fucking James Bond. Oh, sorry, I said the F word. I'm like, how do you come up with the bow tie and tuxedo and not all wrinkled? And he was like, well, man, I'm just James Bond. What do you think? And that bugged me for a while. But you said after a while, well, after a couple of rum coca, you told me, no, I send my suit way in advance they dry clean it, so when I arrive at the hotel, it's waiting for me in the room.
I can't remember doing that, but probably did. I probably did. The other trick that my wife told me is if you try, is I quite sometimes I wear the jacket on the aeroplane, along with jeans and t-shirt or whatever, so that the jacket doesn't get crumpled and stuff and doesn't take up the space. So yeah, I do like traveling light. Yeah.
Well, me, I bought some shirts that don't wrinkle. It's a special cotton with the heat, so never. Okay,
but
yeah,
off topic now. Sorry.
Okay, let me take an example. As you can tell, I have a lot of art. Okay, those two guys. This is Pablo Picasso and Jean Cocteau in good company. He liked boys, he liked girls. Those are two very well-known artists. But maybe back in the days, some other artist said, I can't believe Picasso is so well known. I'm so much better than him. Same with Jean Cocteau. Maybe some artists back then say, I can't believe this guy gets all the props. Talent has a little to do with it. It's all about marketing. It's all about who is talking about you. So same goes for content. If the content, you might have the best content in the world, but if nobody's mentioning it, so there's a lot to do about promotion of content.
So my son's doing drama and script writing at a university, and he's good. But I think he's probably still thinks that if he writes a great script, somebody else will run with his script all the way to the bank, or all the way to Hollywood. And I think that's not true. The writer also has to push their agenda, push their script, push their brand, their personal brand. And personal branding does become a very, very important part of content, I think. And that becomes very difficult for you to be a content writer writing as a ghostwriter for somebody else, because unless you're going to then let somebody else put their name on the bottom of that content, it's very difficult for you to be an expert in, music one day and politics the next day and, operating systems the next.
In certain areas, like photography, I think it can go up to 90%. Only 10% of the job is about taking pictures. 90% is about promoting yourself and the rest of the stuff.
Being in the right place at the right time, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the decisive moment is more about being at the right place at the right time than it only takes like one 500th of a second to take a picture, and the rest of
it's true. It's true. And content, an easy thing about content to show that it's not just about the content is, do you make it go live on a Monday or a Sunday? It's a big difference depending on your audience. There's less people. In one audience, your audience is like to have either more or less people on a Sunday than a Monday. Depending on whether you're business or B2C, and trying to get that message out. Timing is everything. So it's not just about the content.
And furthermore, a rainy Sunday morning might be the best thing in the world because people are staying at home. Usually you were getting more traction on a Monday or Tuesday, but So I
remember writing some content for a semantic search guide. So on Inlinks, we've got a semantic search guide, and before, I spent months starting to write stuff that I was thinking about trying to create a book on semantic search, and I'm not sure I'm clever enough, but I started writing it in chunks so that each one could be a blog article, and then I could build it up into a proper semantic guide when Inlinks was ready to launch, or around about when Inlinks was ready to launch. So I was realigning my own personal brand from a links guy to a semantic search guy over several months. And then when Inlinks launched, the number of people that came to me and said, "Oh, I don't know how you got the crest of that wave, but this is all the buzz right now. Well done. They were in the right place, right time." No, I wasn't in the right place, right time. I spent quite a lot of time trying to re-engineer my position in the conversation, the greater conversation, so that I was in the right place at the right time for when we launched. Not perfect, but it was better than not doing it at all.
There is this French photographer from was famous back pre-war and after the war, called Henri Cartier-Bresson, and his nickname was he was the Eye of God, because he was there when Gandhi died. He was there when China collapsed. He was there when Russia. All he was doing, and back in the 30s or the 50s, right? He was reading the newspaper in the morning, and it was, it seems hot in India, so I'm going to go there. And he stayed for months. So yeah, maybe he snapped one picture, but it took them, and it was brave to go there. Well, so it's all about if we want to be fair today. SEO, I don't think it's an end in itself. It's more a layer within the whole content marketing strategy. So quickly, first step is to create content. Second step is distribution. Okay, I tweet at Monday at 9:02, and then Facebook at 9:04, blah blah. And 4 types of content: audio, video, image, and text.
You might have missed a 3 there, but anyway, okay.
No, audio, video, text, image.
Okay.
You get 4 types of content, and even in Google search results, you got those 4 types of content, format of content. So myself, I like to take one topic, do maybe 30 or to 300 pieces of content in audio, video, text, and image form. And then, so that's the creation part. Distribution part is, the pipelines. And then 3 is promotion. You got to promote each piece of content, and then analytics, you rinse and repeat. So there is a SEO layer within this whole strategy, but it's, and again, it depends. If you want to target like a bed and breakfast in northern Suffolk or whatever it is, maybe you can do old school SEO. But if you want to play with the big dogs, and maybe be smarter, if you don't have the budget to punch in this whole, like, what I call bazooka marketing.
I mean, this all said, I think that there is a lot to be said for making sure that your content is well structured and closely and understands the other topics around your main theme. Again, going back to your point of, if you took out the keyword, would you still know what the site's about? But certainly the need to be able to talk around the subject within a good piece of content is vital. If you're going to be talking about politics in the United Kingdom, then you probably should mention the Prime Minister at the time and the major issues of the day, if you're going to hope to rank for that piece of work. And it doesn't really matter what your content is. I think you have to pay attention to the other topics that are semantically close to the one that you're talking about, and that will make for stronger content.
And it works. That's the thing. It works.
Oh yeah.
I got so many hundreds and thousands of cases of clients or students or people who I gave it for free in 2013, my strategy, and since then in France we got, I think, the best tools in the world. I mean, who else has to the level of Inlinks or Rank for Win, or if you go to French Touch SEO, you'll see all the my family of friends who develop each very smart tools, and we were first, and I still think we have an advantage because it's about the page, around the page, and around the website. So it's everything.
I agree. I think French SEOs are bloody clever. You guys have sort of really got into the nitty gritty of some technologies, and I think it's really impressive. Where you sometimes fall down is on the UX. Sometimes it doesn't look as pretty as Moses tools or whatever.
I could not agree more. I could not agree more. But those tech guys, the UX. I mean, different. Okay, so content is king, but you need the technical part. The technical part and the popularity / links part is there to push the content. So the famous triptych: technical, content, popularity.
Or it's totally unique and no one else can get there because no one's written about it.
Exactly. If you are that good, then you have nothing to worry about. If for the rest of us, you got to do the work. What about for next time? Let's talk about JavaScript. Can Google read JavaScript?
Does Google read it? Does anybody read it? Let's find out.
Okay.
See you
Till
then.
next time. Bye bye.